But to actually be told, it's I don't know. So you read about people and you just never in a million years think that it's going to be you.
Turning 18 is a great milestone for all young people. It is the turning point of becoming an adult and leaving your childhood behind. But what about those young people who can never grow up and face a lifetime needing care? Gareth Allen has just celebrated his 18th birthday in January. He is disabled. Gareth suffers with a rare genetic condition called Angelman syndrome, a chromosome disorder that causes severe learning difficulties. Although his life expectancy is normal, Gareth's life is a lot different from other young people his age, and his mum Marie says growing up has been difficult for the family.
Severe developmental delay, incontinence, epilepsy, and delayed walking. Because it's the way he is, and that's just the way your life goes. And you forget how easy life would be. I mean, he'd be going off with his mates playing football and probably going to the pub, and it's like having a toddler, I suppose, an 18-year-old toddler, because you're still doing the baby things.
Gareth, like so many disabled young people, will never be able to live independently and will always require round-the-clock care. But now he is 18 and just about to leave the security of school, his family must make decisions which will affect his future.
In the future, I would like him to live possibly in a house with others. I know other people have done, take two or three others of not necessarily the same disability, and with a team of carers coming in and probably obviously living with them, so that he could have a sort of life that he would have as being a teenager. It's like with everything with special needs, it's all almost like you find out more through other parents at most things, and they'll tell you, but I always find with social services and probably the government as well, that it's there but nobody sort of tells you. I mean, ever since Gareth's been really little, I've been trying to find out what is out there for when he gets older, just to put your mind at rest, because you just worry, well, what happens when he leaves school and this, and nobody ever said until now, oh well, when he gets that old, this will happen and that'll happen. I mean, I suppose a lot of the places probably won't be there, or wouldn't have been there when he was little, but it's just nice to know what the possibilities are as they get older.
A parliamentary report which informed the Aiming High for Disabled Children review described the transition to adulthood as the black hole, meaning a time when young people have few options, become more isolated, and families experience a drop in levels of support. But what are local authorities and organisations doing to ensure this doesn't happen?
It is a big statement to make, and I think that some parents particularly feel that, because they're in children's services, they are, I think, used to having the same people around them. They've often go to the same short break, same nurses, same paediatrician, and then all of a sudden it's a whole bunch of new people and maybe less resource. And I think it does feel like that. In reality, there is support networks out there post-18, but they're not the same as children, and I think that there is a gap. I don't think that we're sensitive enough to it, and I think the families are the best advocates for this, really. They're the ones, I think, who need to say, actually, this would make it better. I can only guess and talk to families, which I do, yeah.
For families that have been through the transition, they know how hard it is to make decisions about their child's future. This is Amy. As a twin, she was given a life expectancy of only a few years. However, at 25, she is now a miracle. Her family know all too well what it's like to make life-changing decisions for their daughter.
So Amy was born on 3rd July 1987 with cerebral palsy. At the time when she was born, we didn't know what her condition was or what her prognosis was for the rest of her life. So that sort of came after time. So suspicions were that she would have severe brain damage, but all the time the doctors kept saying, "Oh, wait and see, wait and see." So after months, we waited and see to see what happened. But because we've got her sister, Amy's a twin, you start to see comparisons as to one twin developing and the other twin not developing. So then we started to see that something was wrong. And it's quite evident after 6 months where a normal young baby started to move through certain stages. Amy wasn't moving through any of those stages. I asked doctors what's Amy's prognosis, and someone said to us she might live to be 2 years old, and then she lived to be 2, got to 2, next consultants would ask, or round of consultants would ask, well, if she lives to be 2 she might live to be 20, always at the threat of chest infections or something happening to her, and now here she is 25 years old, and still going strong.
Amy now lives between her home in Northampton and in a residential care home in Nottingham. Her family have said that going through the transition was one of the hardest points in their lives. They lost all faith in social services and felt abandoned.
You are falling off the edge of a cliff, and you do keep putting it to the back of your mind because you think it's not going to happen, or the authorities will give you some sort of guidance and it'll all be taken care of. It is quite a shock to the system where you suddenly find out actually it is a cliff edge and you don't really know what's going to happen next, and it's really down to you to go and find out something and get it sorted out yourself. And there wasn't really any support or help or much guidance, other than we were sort of starting again. And I'll be quite honest, when I was going through Amy's youth, you just expect this thing just carries on, weeks turn into months, months into years, and then at one meeting was told, oh, the transition. So what's Amy's? I'm happy where Amy is now. Why can't she just stay where she is? And then you realise, no, that's it. You've moved into adulthood now, and a lot more people try and take over and make decisions for you.
On asking social services about the disabled transition into adulthood, they provided this statement.
The difference in management in children's services and adult services means that vulnerable children, young adults and their families can be confused about what services they should be able to access and exactly what their entitlements are. In social services, this has been managed through creation of the Transition Service, who are responsible for children from aged 14 to beyond aged 18, but there is still a disparity between the two services. The way that these services are delivered is also different and adds to the complexity, in that much of the provision delivered by adult services is commissioned in a care management approach, whereas children's social care still directly deliver most statutory duties. This contributes to families' confusion when children graduate to adult care services.
Every parent will always have hopes and dreams for their child's future. But for parents of disabled children, sometimes these hopes turn into fears.
Well, I think the biggest fear is, and the worry, that we've been sort of fighting her best interests for 25 years. And if Amy outlives us, or there comes a time where myself and my wife can't fight her battles, a bit of worry is, why should her siblings have that responsibility thrust upon them? So Amy's our daughter, and we've done everything we can for her. If someone doesn't fight the good fight for Amy, who's going to be doing it?
I suppose most people worry when they've got a child with needs like that when you're not around anymore, that is the sort of the hardest thing. But then you think by then, I mean, as he's growing, he's got so many people that he's come into contact with and affect his life as well, and so. But that is my main worry, is what's happening. So I'd like to get him sort of sorted as much as I can, to put my mind at rest as well.
I don't think that anyone could ever know the happiness you brought when you came into our world, and the joy of loving you